Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and this is a tutorial on how to sculpt a fantasy miniature treasure chest. And I will pop a picture in so you can get a look. I'll actually be sculpting several different treasure chests, and I'll show you some easy ways to do it. And this will be the type where I use a two-part epoxy that actually hardens, so it's nice. I'm going to use a cork, some wire for the frame, some tools to bend the wire, and I'll be using Procreate or the green stuff, some basic sculpting tools, dental picks, stuff like that, and if you want to paint your treasure chest, which I would imagine you do, some paints. I have a vise here too, and that's optional. I use that sometimes to hold the piece while I'm working. So, thing about a treasure chest is if you want to learn how to sculpt miniatures, for fantasy or anything like that, a treasure chest actually is a nice way to start out because it's a pretty simple design. And this treasure chest is also part of a series of tutorials that I'm doing on how to cast miniatures. The nice thing about some shapes and sizes of the treasure chest is you can cast it in one piece, which makes it kind of easy. So if you're learning you want to learn how to cast miniatures, you might want to try a treasure chest because it's an easier process. And you'll see more about that, and I'll have a video on that and stuff on my website about it. So let's get started with this tutorial. Okay, because I'm making several different treasure chests, I made several different wire armatures, and I just wanted to show them to you. If you wanted to go simple, just do yourself something like this. But I recommend, keep getting the armature as beefy as possible. It just makes it easier for you to sculpt. So this is two pieces of wire that I twisted together and then formed into a chest-like shape. Now, if you're going to do a treasure chest with an open door, with an open lid, you might want to do something like this. So you've got the chest, and I've got some wire for the lid too to hold it in place. So the more armature you get, actually, the better off you're going to be. It'll be much easier to sculpt and stay in shape while you're doing it. So you get yourself two pieces of your two-part epoxy, your modeling putty, and you twist them all together, and then you start sculpting. But there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this. You can make the rectangular box and then carve in all the various details like the iron banding and whatnot, or you can make the box and then add little strips of banding. And I'm going to, for simplicity, I'll show you a little bit about both ways. It's typical sculpting process. You start out with your big shapes, you work down, and then you can see now I've actually started to work on my little pieces. I used a thin pick tool here to make my lock and the keyhole on the lock. and the smaller details. So that's what you do. You start out with the bigger details, the rough shape. You start to get into the features of it, the textures of it, and then work down to your smaller tools to get your finer details. Like these bands could have little bolts in them like this, so I could put a little bolt there, a little bolt like that, little tiny indentation to make it like a bolt hole right across. You can paint. Now also, if you wanted, you cut yourself off little pieces, very small pieces, and then you can attach them to make your hasps, your hinges in the back, your little handles maybe if you wanted, or the little lock. Okay, I'm working on the second chest, and I've got it pretty much roughed out. And if you want to use this technique, the chest will come out looking better, but this is more difficult to do. So this might be something you do the same thing. Do your first chest the first way, and you want to make another treasure chest, do it this way. So all I've done here is I've made the shape of the chest as if it had no metal on it, and then I've carved in, I've used a tool to make the little wood grain on it, as if the whole thing were wood. Just put lines in it like that to give us a nice wood grain. So from here what we do is get yourself a little bit of clay and roll it out into thin pieces like this, to very thin pieces. And then form the structure of your metal. So using the banding method gives the chest a little bit more, it looks a little nicer. The chest has a nice sharpness to it because of the metal bands. There we go. Okay, so I have one more to do, and that's the open door. Although, you know, the techniques still apply, all the same techniques you can use. I'm going to work on this a little bit more and I'll show you the finished result. Okay, so there's the 3 treasure chests. This is the final one that I did here. I just made it up real quick. It could use a little more work. And I used a method of just sort of like forming the metal bricks on it. And then once it was done, I hollowed it out a little bit in the inside, and then I actually put another piece of clay in there, and that'll be piles of gold and jewels. And also put a pile of gold and jewels here. So that's how to make a treasure chest. If you want to start out with sculpting miniatures, a treasure chest is a great way to go, because it will it's a pretty simple shape, and it'll give you a good feel for the putty. And if you want to cast miniatures, a treasure chest is nice because you can cast it as a single mold. So thanks for watching, and lots more tutorials on sculpting miniatures, painting miniatures, casting miniatures, all kinds of stuff on my website at www.stormthecastle.com.